Hello, my lovelies. I'm Ginny O, the author with no last name, and today we're going to talk about a piece of three-word advice that gets commonly misconstrued. Kill or murder your darlings. Now, where does this come from? Okay, I had to take a moment to go look it up. Um, the phrase kill or murder your darlings is misattributed to William Faulkner, but it originally comes from Sir Arthur Quiller Couch. Whenever you feel an impulse to perpetuate a piece of exceptionally fine writing, obey it wholeheartedly and delete it before sending your manuscript to press. Murder your darlings. And then Faulkner turned around and said, in writing, you must kill all your darlings. Now, this is kind of the era of the Hemingway approach to writing, where anything that felt excessively ornate needed to be absolutely destroyed. Now, if you like Hemingway style writing, that's on you. But that is the kind of the time period that we're talking about, where just get rid of all your adverbs and you wanted this beautiful, elegant, spare type of writing. Now, what now we've had this kind of thing turn up that people, because it is kind of like the phrase the customer is always right, and it gets truncated in half, missing the rest of the phrase of in the matters of taste, which means the customer's right. If they want to buy that ugly hat, then let them buy that ugly hat. Even if you think it's ugly, they're paying money for it. Don't turn down the money, okay? The customer is not always right on anything else, okay? The customer might be blatantly wrong. So when it comes to kill your darlings, over the years, people have taken this to mean a whole bunch of different things, including, well, I really loved this piece of writing, but Faulkner and Quiller Crouch say to kill your darlings, and as much as I love it, it just has to go. Or, oh, I love my characters so much, I must kill my characters. Things like that. They take it very, very literally. So, where does killing your darlings or murdering your darlings even come into the writing process? First off, there can be like two kind of places that you're doing this. One, in your first draft, if you have writer's block, and two, in your second draft or third draft when you are revising. Now, when you have in the first draft, when you are writing and you are suddenly stuck, a very common, well, not so common, but a good piece of writing guidelines that I've discovered is to go 10 paragraphs or 10 lines back. And your problem might be there. And sometimes you won't, everything after that 10 lines may not be useful. So personally, I would take it, open up another document, grab all those 10 lines and put it in another document to see if I can use it later. If I can't use it later, then, I can't, but might not be useful right this minute. And then, once you've determined the point of your writer's block, whether it's 10 lines back, or maybe you need to be a little more voicey, or maybe you need to go like take a walk or something so you can work your brain around what you're trying to do. Are you missing a character? Is the setting wrong? Is what's going on here? You can get on with it. It means you might really like that 10 lines of writing, that those words, you might have agonized over them, or there might be a nice turn of phrase in them, but it's keeping you from moving forward. So I really, put them in another document. Come back to them another day. Maybe they'll be useful another day, and just leave them there in another document because no writing is ever wasted, really. Um, and then you can move on with your first draft. But where Kill Your Darlings in general really turns up is when you're revising. And this is where we get the most common types of misconceptions, that you need to get rid of self-indulgent writing, or you need to kill characters, or you need to, I have a post here. It's from T.L. Bodine and on Tumblr, and it's got like a whole list of these common misconceptions, like you should just delete something because you like it, you need to pare your story down to the absolute bare bones, which is the Hemingway-Faulkner approach. And and you have to delete stuff that you don't want to delete, and that is not precisely what it even means. This is why I don't like show don't tell. I don't like Kill Your Darlings. I don't like further the plot, because it's too kind of vague almost to be able to work out what you're supposed to be doing. So, okay, I want you to think about this as almost as if you're creating a world or working out a video game or something like that. So you've spent a lot of time crafting something. Okay, whether it's this cultural custom or a world mechanic, or maybe it's a crafting mechanic, especially if you're like a game dev. Like say that you've spent 3 hours researching blacksmithing, and now your reader has to suffer because you went and learned about blacksmithing. I'm doing this right now in a vampire rom-com where I had to go learn how to make flan, so now you guys get to suffer and have to learn how to make flan. Okay? I am trying to make a character important. But you spent all this time learning about it, so you put stuff into the book. You just put this whole scene into the book about blacksmithing, and you love the scene. Maybe there's some sort of witty turn of phrase in it, or you really like it. But your reader reads the book, and they're reading the book, and they read the book, and they get to the scene, and they're like, I don't understand this. This does nothing for me. And even though you really like it, and if you're like a game dev who made a blacksmithing system and you put a lot of time in it and you think it's great, another game dev might come along and say, this is really tedious and boring. We need to find a way to make this fun. And that's basically your scene about blacksmithing in the book. It's not fun. It's not, it means, would anything be lost story-wise if you took this scene out? Now, I come across this a lot. I have created this city, and I must tell you everything about this city. I'm going, well, you've greatly inflated your word count. You have put a lot of thought into this, but is this necessary right this minute? Could you take this out, and would anything be lost? And I mean, you might need it later, but I want to know about it at that point. For the love of little green apples, please be aware that even if you're writing something like an epic fantasy, that if you put a spare detail back in book 1, but don't address that detail until book 6, most readers are not going to remember that detail from book 1. So you're going to have to repeat it in book 6, whether you like it or not. So it doesn't even matter in book 1. It's just randomly sitting there because you love it so much. That is a darling you kill. That is something you take out and leave it until book 6. And you go, oh, Jenny, foreshadowing. If it's sitting there in the middle of like nowhere, it's this weird ass mushroom, and it's not being mushrooming up again in 2, 4, 5, 2, 3, 4, and 5, then it's not foreshadowing for book 6. It's just this weird mushroom sitting in book 1 that only becomes important in, suddenly becomes important in book 6. Believe me. I get it. There are people who are going to latch onto details that you have no idea that they're going to latch onto. Like, I had this one story I wrote, and I mentioned that the color of something was green. And all of a sudden, everybody wanted to know why it was green. And I said, I picked that out of thin air. I have no idea why it's green. Excuse me while I go invent a reason. or book 3 of the Vampire Rom-Com, I mentioned that she has a gift for the Vampire King. And I'm sitting here going, did I actually decide on what she's giving him? I don't think I've actually decided on what she's giving him, but I know people are going to latch on to this, so now I have to figure out what she's giving to him and when she's giving it to him. Oh, I do this to myself. But it's kind of like I'm not putting that in book 1 and, bringing it back up in book 3. No, I'm putting it in book 3 that she has a gift for him and dealing with it with book 3. So if your detail is at the beginning of the book and you're not dealing with it to the end of the book, then you might want to put that detail at the end of the book rather than at the beginning of the book. What Kill Your Darlings is basically, you may have put a lot of love and a lot of craft, and there's, some really fine turns of phrase into a portion of your story. But your story doesn't necessarily need it. The story will go on fine enough without it. It just means it's not moving the story along. Okay, so in the Dawn Warrior, alright, in the first draft, I cut out about 10,000 words of this, by the way. I was very proud of myself. In the first draft of the Dawn Warrior, which is about a princess and her sidekick, her dragon sidekick, Gorlois. Here, let me see if I can get you to, there you go. Alright. I spent roughly 5,000 words deeply explaining Gorlois' the dragon's crystal magic and how it was different from mundane magic and how that was different from elven magic. Okay? About 5,000 words. I went, oh my god, I have spent so much time on this, and I have a chart of this, but it is not important. And as much as I love it, as much as I love world building, I have to take this out. Even though it's an independent book now and I didn't need to hit word count, but I was trying to hit 110,000 for querying purposes. And then nobody wanted it. Go figure. My dad is still, to this day, absolutely confused why no traditional publisher wanted this book. I don't know, Daddy. But I had to tell myself, even though I love this, it's not important to the plot right now that you know how his crystal magic works. So, I'll just cut that out, put it in another document. And I think I also cut out the sex scene. And we'll deal with it later. And that's really all Kill Your Darlings is about. Is it progressing the plot? Will the book, notice it if it's gone? Is it just something that confuses readers, and does it need to be changed and tweaked a little bit to make it work? And that's it. It's not, oh my god, you have to kill your characters. Oh my god, you have this piece of self-indulgent writing and you need to get rid of it. And, I know me writing about, tips on how to make flans is probably a little self-indulgent. At the same time, I'm trying to establish that this character is actually a fairly decent cook. That she has spent the last 6 years learning about cooking, despite being a princess, and, you know, she is going to impress the King of Vampires with her flans, which is his favorite dessert if it kills her. Okay? And she has all these little tips and tricks that she's learned about custards and making caramel and everything that she's learned from other cooks so that she can, you know, impress this guy long enough so she can vanish into the ether and, you know, go further into exile than she already is, because she doesn't want anybody to find out she's the princess. She just wants to leave. You know, she's very happy that the vampire king, has conquered her country. She didn't want to be queen anyway. So, yes, is it self-indulgent? Probably. Does it do something for the story? Am I establishing a character trait? Absolutely. I'd rather show you that she's good at making plans and then just tell you, oh my god, she's good at making flans. But she doesn't technically know she's good at making plans. She knows she's good at making quiche, but she doesn't know she's good at making flan. And flan and quiche are not precisely the same thing. So, quiche is more savory, but they're both custards. So I just remember, when you are reading your book, you're going to come upon this point in your writing journey where either you're going to have a great set of beta readers, and they're going to be like, we love you, and we know you worked hard on this, but you need to kill this section. Or you're going to fine-tune your gut. This took me 5-6 years to do. It can take time, depending on how much you're writing and how many other books you're reading in your genre or whatever, and analyzing to, this works for me, this doesn't work for me. Your gut will start telling you, this makes the story interesting and keeps the attention, and this makes the story drag, and even though I spent a lot of time on it, I need to cut it out and maybe use it later. It's about figuring out what parts of your story are dead spots, basically, and either removing them because they're not doing anything for the book, and they're slowing the pace of your story down, or trying to rework them in such a way, you know, instead of murdering your darlings, you're doing surgery on your darlings. Surgery. And to make it come alive, to provide that tension or novelty or attachment, so people keep turning the page of your story. So if you, once again, I'm gonna link the post from TL Boating on Tumblr in down below. I'll link that, so you can see what they say. Very short, very similar to what I've said, and I found the origins of Kill Your Darlings from Book Architecture, so I can also put a link to that below so you can see more of the story about Kill Your Darlings. But, you know, this is one of those 3-word pieces of advice that gets kind of all thrown all over the place, that, you know, people are trying to say, you know, do this, take out all this, you know, do, you know, and it's not necessary. It's about killing your darlings. It's about finding the stuff that, even though you might have put a lot of love into it, just doesn't work. That drags the story, slows your pacing down to a glacial area, and removing it so that your story still flows. Okay, that, you know, it keeps readers' attention. It doesn't mean, you know, you have to kill everything you love until your manuscript is nothing like you wanted it to be. I tried doing that with the Lone Prospect, and I cried, and I put it all back, and I said, you know, I'm going to leave this because I've read it and I think, I think it flows really well and it's a fast read, and my editor has read it and she has told me that it is a fast read, and everybody who likes that sort of thing, this kind of slice of life drama stuff, who has read it has like come back to me and been like, I got through it really fast and I like it and I really wish I want more, and I'm like, I really wish I could pump out 165,000 words in, 3 months like Amazon wants me to, but I can't. So I'm sorry. I have to put this on the back burner until I can, grab enough time to. It takes a good 6 to 8 months to write one of these. Uh, I can write about 250,000 words in 7 to 8 months if I have an outline. And that includes migraine time, unfortunately. So, not to brag, but just to say, once you get into this practice mode, especially once you have something down, that can be what it's like. But it takes time, and I'm not doing that. I cannot do that in every 3 months, unfortunately. That's most books that are written every 3 months tend to be 40 to 50,000 words. At 80 at most, and even that's pushing it. All right, so when it comes to killing your darlings, I don't know if this is gonna be it will end up pushing me down in the algorithm or not on YouTube here, but when it comes to killing your darlings, remember, find those dead spots, find the things that you know that you are over explaining and are not really necessary for the plot yet, that aren't going to, you're not going to miss them if they're not in the book, type of thing. And that's find the dead spots. And if sometimes you have to remove a dead spot because it's gangrene, and sometimes you just need to take surgery because it's just like like a little piece of mushroom in their tumor or something. You just need to take it out and rework things. And if you are in the first draft and you're stuck, but you really love those last 10 lines, just take them out and put them in another document. Whenever you're removing something, just take it out and put it in another document so you can move forward on what you're working with now. And then later you can go back and look at it and be like, maybe I can use that here. Maybe you come up with a whole new story based off of it. You never know. Writing is never wasted, okay? Take care of yourselves, my lovelies. Stay safe, bless, and I'll see you in the next video.